All right, welcome back to the channel. So Terence Crawford is getting called out by Josh Taylor, who wants Terence Crawford to go fight him in Scotland. Now, if you didn't know Bob Arum and Top Rank, you might think that this is impossible, but no, unfortunately it's not. And this is a fight that is more likely to happen than the Errol Spence Jr. fight. Let's talk about it after in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Now, also, please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you've not already subscribed. Hit the like button, hit the share button. It really does help the channel grow, and we'd really greatly appreciate it if you would. So in this video, we're going to talk about Terence Crawford and Josh Taylor. Terence Crawford is the WBO welterweight champion of the world, and he's a former undisputed champion at 140 pounds, which he has in common with Josh Taylor, who is a 140-pound undisputed champion. He won all the belts, the IBF, the WBA, the WBC, and the WBO when he beat Jose Ramirez just a couple months ago. And so now he's the man in that division, and people are asking Josh Taylor what he wants to do next. Now, what he said was that he thinks that a fight between himself and Terence Crawford would be a wonderful fight, and that he hopes that that fight could happen in Scotland because he hasn't fought in Scotland since 2017, and he owes it to his fans. And to that I say, you know, if it wasn't Bob Arum and Top Rank, I would think this is something that is absolutely nuts. Why would Terence Crawford, who is a long reigning champion. He's a champion at 135, undisputed at 140, champion at 147, WBO at 147. He is the bigger name in the United States of America. He's an excellent fighter. Why in the world would he take a fight from Josh Taylor in Scotland, especially when he has the opportunity to fight Errol Spence Jr. For an undisputed championship at 147 pounds, right? Just off the top, reasonable people will be like, nah, that's not a fight that's gonna happen. However, sorry, this is Bob Arum we're talking about. This is Top Rank we're talking about. So the most likely fight to happen when you compare Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford and Josh Taylor and Terence Crawford, the most likely fight to happen is going to be the Terence Crawford versus Josh Taylor fight. Now, why would that be? First, Bob Arum and Top Rank are very big on in-house fights. Love in-house fights. What's an in-house fight? An in-house fight is one where both fighters are represented by the same promoter. And in this case, you have Josh Taylor, who's with Top Rank, and you have Terence Crawford, who's with Top Rank. So why would that be such a big deal? Because when you have in-house fights, you only have one promoter for the fight. Consequently, the promoter's cut of the fight, you know, the promoter doesn't have to worry about breaking off another promoter and making sure another promoter gets paid. He gets all the promotional fees, and it doesn't matter which fighter wins because his fighter's gonna win and his fighter's gonna move on. So it's kind of like in the case of an in-house fight, it's similar to what they say about Don King, where Don King would get into the ring. He would walk into the ring with the favorite, and he was gonna walk out the ring with the winner, regardless of who won the fight. That's who Don King was gonna walk out of the ring with. That's kind of what Bob Arum and Top Rank do, except for they set it up where they can't lose walking in the door. So that's one of the reasons that I would say that this fight is more likely. Then the second reason that I think the fight between Josh Taylor and Terence Crawford is more likely than the Errol Spence Jr. fight is because Josh Taylor is no longer going to be at 140 pounds, is not going to be at 140 pounds much longer. If you've ever seen this guy fight, if you've ever seen him fight and look at what his body looks like to make weight, you know that he is a bigger guy. He's 140, he's truly 147-pound fighter. So I think Josh Taylor's time is up as far as making that weight, because the size difference between, and that applied to both he and Jose Ramirez, that both of these guys were going to go up in weight. And what I said when this fight was made, the fight between Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez, that the winner of that fight was gonna move up to fight Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford has absolutely, other than an Errol Spence Jr. fight, which we'll get to in a second, he has no other major fights that are available to him at the 147-pound weight division. The other people, everybody else at 147 pounds is a PBC fighter. For example, Sean Porter and Terence Crawford says he wasn't willing to fight Sean Porter. You have Keith Thurman, you have Errol Spence Jr., you have even Manny Pacquiao. All of these guys are Danny Garcia, who's going to be moving up to 147. All of these guys are PBC guys. And then you guys have one of the younger fighters in the division, who is Jaron Ennis, who's with the promoter, but he's not with Bob Arum. So there's not a lot to do at that weight class for Terence Crawford, which is why Terence Crawford is struggling to pick a dance partner for this fight that he has coming up next. Because if you recall, when he was being interviewed about whether or not he was going to fight Errol Spence Jr. or not, Terence Crawford was very, very snippy, and and cocky is a pretty good word to use with him, when he was talking about how he had this great fight that was lined up and what he was going to do, when he got this great fight. And that great fight was the fight with Manny Pacquiao. And what happened to that great fight with Manny Pacquiao? The great fight with Manny Pacquiao fell through because Errol Spence Jr. fought Manny Pacquiao. So I could very easily see this fight taking place between Josh Taylor and Terence Crawford. Now the crazy thing is why would it be in I believe it was in Glasgow, Scotland, is where that fight was. Why would it be over there? That has everything to do with the fact that Bob Arum has just never actively promoted Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford doesn't really have a home base that he can say, okay, this is the fight. We're gonna have this fight. In my hometown. Being from Omaha, Nebraska, I mean, that's only part of the problem. But what it really is you could have found a home away from home for him to fight in. If Top Rank had really believed in him and said, we're going to continue to build him, and we know this is a superstar that we're looking forward to, doing all these great things. That's never been the attitude of Top Rank with Terence Crawford. He's always been kind of an afterthought to them, and specifically an afterthought to fighters like Tyson Fury now, and Tyson Fury, Vasily Lomachenko, and now Josh Taylor, because that what they're looking for. They're looking for those great American blue eyes out of Josh Taylor to come to the U.S., right? Or have him go fight on Glasgow in Scotland, where you're going to get a big crowd, because Josh Taylor, they support their fighters over there. And that's pretty much why I think the fight would wind up in Glasgow. And it's also a dangerous fight for Terence Crawford, because Josh Taylor's a good fighter, and Terence Crawford is getting a little bit later in his years. The fights he's been fighting have not been tremendously competitive fights, and Josh Taylor's been fighting a better level of competition than he has. That, and the fact that if it's on the road, you can pretty much count that Terence Crawford's going to need a knockout to win. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. I could foresee that fight taking place there with Josh Taylor. And if Josh Taylor's saying it, more than likely it's also something he's talked about with Bob Arum. Anyway, so that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think. Please do not forget to subscribe, share, and like. And with that, I'm out. Peace.